It's a capacity game. You could have the smartest plan in the world, but if you're stretched thin, your nerves are fried, your boundaries are blurry, and you're constantly stuck in hustle mode, it won't matter what strategy you're using. You'll still feel like you're drowning in pressure. Today, I want to know, have you ever caught yourself thinking, I have the strategy, I know what to do, so why does it still feel so damn hard? That's the question I found myself asking in a moment of total burnout. I used to think strategy was the answer until I hit a point where even good strategy felt way too much. What I've learned is, no matter how good it looks, business is not a strategy game. It's a capacity game. You could have the smartest plan in the world, but if you're stretched thin, your nerves are fried, your boundaries are blurry, and you're constantly stuck in hustle mode, it won't matter what strategy you're using. You'll still feel like you're drowning in pressure and shoulds. The conversation I want to have today is for the high achievers, the overthinkers, and for the ones who've been pushing through because they can, but they're starting to wonder how much longer they should keep pushing. Today, I'm talking about the intersection of recalibrating and building. I call it the triple threat to sustainable growth. Expanding your capacity, creating an aligned strategy, and unapologetic self-leadership. Because if your career is going to grow, it has to grow in a way that your body and energy can actually handle. So let me dive into what that really looks like and how you could start making shifts today without starting from scratch. First, I want to talk about burnout. And though it's possible to burn out from doing too little, and I'm talking from experience because avoiding things takes a lot of energy, but the burnout I think most of us know is from doing too much, and more specifically, it comes from carrying too much without the right support underneath it. The real work for sustainable growth comes down to what I like to call the triple threat. It starts with expanding your capacity. This is about leading a business your body could actually hold. If you're constantly overwhelmed, reactive, or running on fumes, it doesn't matter how much strategy you have on top of all that. You'll subconsciously self-sabotage, stall, and then burn out because you physically can't handle all you've taken on. What I'm talking about is the behind-the-scenes work. It's regulating your energy, slowing down enough to feel into what's right, and creating space to respond and not just react. The second piece to the triple threat is aligned strategy. This isn't just about having a plan. It's about having a plan that feels good to implement and actually works for how you're wired. Because when your strategy is built on shoulds, you end up scaling without direction, which is not sustainable. Aligned strategy is about simplifying, streamlining, and making sure every move you make is taking you closer to what you actually want, and not just what looks impressive online. This is where human design becomes a game changer. When you know your energy, how you're designed to make decisions, and what environment brings out your best work, you stop trying to build a business like everyone else and start leading like yourself, how you are meant to lead. And the third part of the triple threat is unapologetic self-leadership. This is about trusting your gut, setting boundaries, and making decisions that honor what's right for you, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one else gets it, and even when the old version of you wants to play it safe. Because if you don't lead yourself, you'll always be waiting for someone else to tell you it's okay to do things differently, to make that next move. But no one is coming. Self-leadership is what it takes to move forward with clarity instead of questioning every step. It's what keeps your growth sustainable because it's anchored in who you are. When these three pieces of this triple threat come together, that's when things start to click. That's when growth feels good. That's when you stop feeling like you're one launch away from collapse. Things get to be fun and exciting. And the wild thing about this is that most of the ways we burn ourselves out aren't conscious. They're patterns we've picked up to prove ourselves, to keep up, or avoid rocking the boat. And a lot of those patterns are directly connected to how we're designed, especially the parts of our human design chart that are open or undefined. These are the places where we absorb the world around us. And when we don't understand how to work with what we're absorbing, we become energetic pressure cookers. I've talked a lot about open centers before, and I did an entire episode on that, and I'll leave the link below so you could get the deep dive of this. But for right now, I just want to give you a few examples to help you understand what I'm talking about. And if you don't have your human design chart, I will leave the link below to get your free chart. So, for examples of what I'm talking about with open centers in your human design chart, if you have an open root center, you feel a constant pressure to go faster, to finish your to-do list before you could relax. So you rush, you push, you overcommit. And then you're wondering why you're exhausted by 2 p.m. The root center is all about pressure. So if yours is open, you might constantly be trying to relieve that pressure by doing more, instead of asking what actually needs your energy. And before I move on to another example, I want to note, even if you have this center defined, so it's colored in on your chart, that doesn't mean you can't relate to what I'm talking about for an open center. I have a defined root, so I should not have this pressure, but I still find myself pushing and overcommitting often. And that is my sign that I need to adjust and recalibrate. Everything I'm talking about today is building self-awareness, so you understand your baseline, and when you move away from that baseline, it's a sign that you need to make some changes to recalibrate back to how your system wants to flow. Okay, now another example is the open will or heart center. You might be feeling you're always trying to prove that you're good enough. You say yes when you don't want to. You over-deliver. You work late even though no one asked you to. Because deep down, you're trying to earn your worth. And this one's sneaky. It shows up as perfectionism, people-pleasing, and not charging enough for what you're worth, even when you know you should. And another common capacity stealer is if you have an open spleen center, where you have a tendency to hold on to things longer than you should. Clients, programs, habits, ideas, because the familiar feels safe, even when it doesn't feel good anymore. You will ignore your body's signals until it starts screaming. With an open spleen, fear letting go can override your better judgment, and it keeps you stuck in situations that drain your energy. There's patterns and themes in each of the centers, and I'm not going to go into each of the centers because, again, I've done an episode on that before. But I do have a free cheat sheet for you that will really help you break down and build awareness in why you're feeling certain ways and what's keeping you stuck. It's super powerful to build awareness about why you're acting the way you are, so you could make adjustments to just feel better in your day-to-day and not let these energies bring you down. I will leave the link below for that cheat sheet. Another part of human design I want to mention is a type. And your human design type can give you so many clues to why you're burning out. For generators, like me, it's very easy to override our sacral wisdom and say yes to everything until we're spread so thin we don't even know what brings us joy anymore. Projectors might push themselves to keep up with generators, and they're not honoring their natural rhythms and end up exhausted, resentful, and unseen. Manifestors often feel like they have to justify their bold ideas to everyone else, and they end up hesitating, over-explaining, and dampening their fire. Manifesting generators try to follow the linear strategies that don't match their zigzagging path. And they end up burning out because they're trying to stick with something that they've outgrown. And reflectors absorb everything. And when they're not grounded in their own space, their energy gets pulled in 1,000 directions that were never meant for them. The whole point I am trying to make with all this is that awareness of your actions is key. Once you start recognizing your patterns, you realize you're not broken. You've been just operating in a way that goes against your natural wiring. Awareness as a leader might be obvious. You want to be aware of what tasks are getting done, what your employees are doing, what your clients need. But self-awareness is the most powerful tool in your toolkit that you could have. The more awareness you have, the more awareness why you act certain ways, why you make decisions, really empowers you to start making the right decisions for you, for your goals, for your vision of your life. The more awareness that you have of what you're doing every day, being able to slow down enough and understand why you're operating, it'll help you keep recalibrating back to who you are meant to be in this world. Human design is super powerful in understanding how you're designed. And when you understand your design, you stop trying to fix your symptoms and start addressing the root cause. We're taught to focus on everything around us. What our employees are doing, what our clients are doing, what someone needs from us, or the project's getting done on time. But it really all comes back down to self-awareness of who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, why you made those decisions, why you said what you said. The more awareness you could have about yourself and understanding yourself, the more powerful you get, the more joy you have in your day-to-day, and you're able to make confident decisions every step of your way. Decisions become easier. You filled with satisfaction in your days because you know you're doing what you want to do. You trust your instincts, and you are moving from a place of just not confidence, but self-trust in your abilities and the impact that you are here to make. I have covered a lot today, and I don't want to fire hose you with even more, so I'm going to pause here. I do have so much more I want to share, like the specific tools, rituals, and strategy shifts to help you actually implement the triple threat of expanding your capacity, aligned strategy, and self-leadership. But I also know you're busy, and honestly, I am trying to rewrite the rules. I don't want to just throw a bunch of information at you. I want you to actually absorb what we talked about today. Because this isn't just about learning, it's about embodiment. It's about making real, lasting change in the way you lead your business. It's about actually taking what I'm talking about and giving it some thought without just overloading your system with too much information. So, hit subscribe and stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into the grounded, practical ways to regulate your energy, simplify your strategy, and lead yourself without burning out. Because you're not broken. You're not behind. You're just ready for a new way to do things. And I can't wait to walk you through it in the next episode. But in the meantime, practice self-awareness, tap into your human design, and play with your type or your open centers and see where the root cause of your burnout might be coming from. And that awareness alone gives you the power to start figuring out ways to make change so you could wake up excited and energized every day. Until next time, keep rebelling, keep rising. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Rebel to Rise, where business meets human design. I hope you feel inspired to break free from those shoulds in your life and trust your inner compass as you create a life and business that truly lights you up. Remember, every day is a chance to rebel against the ordinary and rise into your authentic power. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebel who's ready to lead their lives unapologetically. Until next time, keep trusting your intuition, keep breaking the rules, and most importantly, keep rising.